ladies and gentlemen of all ages, boys and girls. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of Angry Meat Production. We appreciate you coming in and letting us be a part of your lives week in and week out. We hope to do our best to present you with something that your eardrums delight in. Whether you're looking at us on YouTube or Rumble, or listening to us on Spotify, Google, or Anchor, or any of the other podcast services that we are currently on or trying to get on. We thank you. And if you don't mind, at the end of every episode, stop by, leave us a comment, leave us a like. If it asks for 5 stars, we'll take 5 stars, even if you don't like us. 5 stars are what it's all about. With that being said, we hope you enjoy our attempt to make our advocation our vocation. Ladies and gentlemen, let the games begin.
Welcome, Angry Faithful. Today on What the Hell, we got some news. This is our bi-weekly news episode that we're starting to do. And Johnny finally was able to come with us because, well, he has surgery, so he has nothing else better to do with his life.
Yeah, I mean, dude, okay, so my day primarily has consisted of playing MLB 23 and Minecraft. Let's see, I watched, just because I was feeling nostalgic and it's just an outstanding movie, I watched Signs earlier today.
It's a decent movie, yeah.
Solid choice.
Yeah, I mean, can't go wrong with something that M. Night Shyamalan directed, not wrote, but just directed.
Well, that's
I mean, he didn't write The Sixth Sense.
yeah, but he did write the Last Airbender.
Again, something he directed, not wrote.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing as far as crimes against humanity in anime that go deeper, that cut deeper than the Last Airbender movie, is the Dragon Ball Z Evolution movie.
Yes.
I mean,
The live action Ghost in the Shell is a close second.
No, the Ghost in the Shell was actually somewhat more or less going on par with the anime.
Was it though?
That night, I enjoyed. The only reason why I enjoyed it more than anybody else is because I had a special needs kid in the audience. Whenever there was like sparkly lights and everything, she's going, "Yay!" And that made the fucking experience 100 times better.
Listen,
Okay, I mean. It was fucking, and what was really sad is the dad was trying to like calm her down, and he's like, no, sweetie, and me and the other couple, there was like 6 people in this place, and I was like, I walked over to the guys, like, hey, listen, talked with the older couple in here. He's like, I'm terribly no, hear me out. This movie is kind of shit, so your daughter's making 100 times better. Let her do what she has to do.
Really. This was
throughout that whole 2-hour experience. I was just going. I was looking at the screen and the lights flashing. She goes, yeah, and it was like, yeah, and I would go, yeah. And the older couple was like, yeah. It just made it 100 times better. But going off party scenes coming in October, the Oktoberfest, which this year has declined a certain alcoholic beverage not to be part of Oktoberfest. Can anybody?
We're not going to mention any names, but their initials are Anheuser-Busch.
Yes. Yes. After 75,
remarkably alike. It's very similar.
Right. Yes.
After 75 years, the Oktoberfest in Germany will not be serving any Anheuser-Busch products
for the first time. No, this is it goes beyond. First time in 75 years.
Yeah.
That the 75-year stretch has been completely ruined.
You know,
thanks to one misguided exec.
It's funny because like you see like a lot of the agnostic or atheist people out there that are like, I mean, they're obviously pro Alphabet Gang, and you see these cute little tweets that they put out there, like, well, good luck ordering a beer, and then they show all these other beer companies out there that have supported, the LGBTQ, right? And I'm sitting there going, and I'm sitting there reading, and I'm scrolling through my Twitter timeline while I'm drinking a Shiner, and I'm thinking, I live in the greatest country, I mean, state in the entire world.
Exactly.
So,
They're like, good luck getting a beer. Like, you know how many local breweries and craft breweries are in this area that have way better beer than anything Anheuser-Busch could piss out?
Oh yeah.
yeah, well, okay.
God.
Now down here we've got that Karbach, right? And Karbach does, or not Karbach, but they do. It's a company that puts out a Crawford Bach, right? It's served
Yeah, that's
locally. Yeah, is it Karbach? Yeah, that's what I thought.
I think so.
So Crawford Bach, I mean, you go to the Crawford, or a Minute Maid Stadium or a Minute Maid Park, and they've got the Crawford boxes, and you see people walking around with Crawford box all the time. Cans have got the cool little Astro design on them.
Yeah, the old school.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good beer, right? I mean, it's great.
Bach, yeah,
yeah, and I'm sitting there going, damn.
Well, there's so many options. And then you have like Ziegenbach. It's great because there's so many great beer options that are only available here in Texas, like Ziegenbach.
Yeah, but like Karbach and Ziegenbach are both produced by Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, but then you got like Ranger Creek down here in San Antonio. That's a great one. There's a bunch of really, really good local breweries that listen, you don't have to worry about any politics like that. Like, they're just shutting.
I'm going to get my drink on, and
going. Or you could do what I'm doing and just make your own mead and not have to worry about any of that shit.
Oh, well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Just brew yourself, and then you can be your own politics if you want to.
No, I mean, the one that hurt me the most was, and when I found out that Anheuser-Busch owns Hoegaarden. It's a Belgian style wheat beer, right? And I got turned on to it a couple of years ago. Went to the Armed Forces Bowl, and Navy was playing. I think that was the year that they played the University of Houston, right? And they blew them out like 70-14. And so we left Fort Worth, and we kind of migrated into the Colony because there's a bar there, a restaurant called the Rocking Cafe. And I mean, they got this like whole wall of taps, right? And it's just pretty good. And we got there, and there just happened to be a beer rep there from like what was it, Ligenfelter. And they were offering buying us pitchers. They were like, oh, this is our springtime, and we're like, okay, fucking, it's free beer, right? Tasted like ass, dude, but
well, yeah,
it was free. And then my oldest son, Chauncey, he had just come back from a deployment to Poland, and he was like, yeah, they've got this stuff over there. And he's like, I can't find it anywhere. And then he saw that they had it. He's like, oh, you've got to try this. And if you've had anything like a Hesselweifen, where it's got the wheat in it, it's unfiltered, you pour half in the glass, and then you swirl it around, and you pour the other half, right?
Yeah, you got to chew the beer.
And
it's like a beer bread.
Yeah. But I mean, this it was a filtered wheat beer, right? But it still had that heartiness to it.
Yeah,
dude. And they're sitting there like, okay, you can pair this with this, and that's the way that their menu was arranged. Bro, Hoegaarden goes amazing. I am not kidding you, with hot wings, bro. Bone in, regular hot wings goes great with this Hoegaarden beer. And I'm just sitting there going, dude, that stuff is fire, right? So I'm pounding those. I'm going to town on some wings. I'm draining like a pitcher of Hoegaarden, and I'm just sitting there going, by the end of before I knew it, I'm sitting there going, oh, oh, I'm fucked up.
Dude, and that's the part you don't realize is like those kinds of beers, man, they sneak up on you too.
They do.
Like
They
it's
do.
like soju where you said they ambush you, you stand up and
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah,
At least it's not
you
like
sit
the
there and
alcohol.
play Risk or Spades all night long, drinking soju, and then you get up to go take a piss and you face plant.
Right?
No,
like 2
that's
feet from the
nothing
table.
what my brother-in-law ended up doing. He ended up drinking this one alcohol, and he was like, "Oh, this is pretty stout, but what is this weird stuff that's just floating around in the fucking alcohol?" They bring up the jar, and there's a fucking dead cobra.
Oh, the cobra was
Yes.
yeah.
He
Nope.
said he was drunk for 4 fucking days because his kidneys stopped functioning because of the fucking venom.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Nope.
Whoa. That sounds like a level of danger that I would have been all up for in my 20s.
Yes.
Oh, exactly.
Absolutely. Fucking literally.
When I was in 100%, I don't even like whiskey. I would have been drinking that shit.
I don't think it was whiskey. I think it was like a rice
No,
one.
they-
Like a
Well, yeah, they do, but
it was something weird.
yeah, the Kroger whiskey is what they're that's the famous one, but I'm sure they put it in fucking everything.
But god damn, I was like, well, you didn't die, so yeah, but fuck that shit.
It wasn't for lack of trying.
Yeah, it wasn't like a trying.
I mean, that's the kind of experience that, like, it traumatizes you to the point where you can't watch nature documentaries about cobra taming without,
Dry
gagging.
a little bit, yeah.
It's like, it's like I can drink Patron. I love me some Patron Silver, right? Some of the Respado. I love that
Oh,
stuff.
oh, yeah.
George Strait's tequila, Codigo. I love that stuff. But you get me anywhere near Senior Jose Cuervo, nope.
No, it's trash tequila.
Bro, I got in a fight with him one night when I was on active duty.
With George Strait?
No, with Jose Cuervo. I would not be
How
allowed.
good a story would that be if you got in a fight with George Strait? I would be telling that shit everywhere.
Drinking
Getting into a fight with George Strait would be grounds for revoking my Texas citizenship, dude. I mean, it's almost like that Michigan University student that was down here on spring break a few years back, and he sucker punched Pat Green on the beach.
Fucking awesome. God damn it.
So, I mean, because the guy was hitting on his wife or something, or kicking sand or something, and Pat Green was like, "Hey, motherfucker," the kid just turned around and just dotted him, broke his nose, and then he immediately got jumped by like 12 dudes.
For sure.
So I mean, if Ozzy Osbourne could be banned from the state of Texas for 2 decades for pissing on the Alamo, if I got into a fight with George Strait, I wouldn't be allowed to live in the state of Texas forever.
I think people would go make a homage to your place just to punch you in the face.
I mean, they probably would. I mean, there would be like a lifetime standing restraining order. I couldn't even stream his music online, kind of a thing.
So would it be to block your IPO completely out of
yeah. No, I got into a fight with Jose Cuervo one night, man. I mean, just like an entire bottle. I was like, I can fucking do this. I'm drinking alone in my barracks room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, my squad leader comes to my room the next day because I missed PT. And all I remember is that he walks in and he looks at me, he goes, "Jesus, you look fucking dead." He's like, "Hold on a minute." And so he goes, pulls his car into the common area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Picks me up and takes me to his car and hauls my ass over to the TMC. Dude, when they said I was dehydrated, we're talking like -5 on the turntable.
Oh my God. Geez.
I sucked up 3 bags of IV fluid, and they didn't say shit to me. They were like, "Did you get sick at all last night?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was kind of throwing up." They didn't ask me why or what I'd been doing.
They
just
probably smelt it from you from a mile away.
Bro.
Yeah. I smelled it out in the parking lot. Like,
well, okay, so I do remember Like, no, I legitimately before I went to bed, you know, and after I got done horking my guts out, I do remember climbing into the shower and like scrubbing my body like I'm decontaminating myself.
So you pulled the what was it? Ace Ventura.
Yeah, yeah, like yeah, you know. But so here's the kicker. I was so dehydrated that they put me on quarters for 72 hours.
You got quarters for a hangover?
Dude.
What the
But
fuck?
nobody said anything about alcohol, like at all.
That's the only they're like, oh, this guy has the flu. He's so I feel so bad.
So
For
my squad leader took
him.
me
If
to the
this guy
shop at. I spent probably about, I don't know, $30 on fucking Gatorade and saltine crackers. And they were like liquid only and quarters for 72 hours. And I'm sitting there going, oh, okay. You know.
So
So
if we have any active duty that are listening right now, if you want 72 hours of quarters, let's go drink a bottle of Jose.
Dude, I had
but
all
decon
four of my
yourself
wisdom
before
teeth
going to
removed.
bed.
What right? What was it? The gold or silver? Like
It was
trash was this?
it was the gold, I think.
Oh God, that's the worst. Lowest of
Yeah.
low.
Yeah. So I
Ugh.
mean, I'm sitting there and I'm like sitting going, I'm like, I'm so fucked, right? You know, I'm thinking I'm getting an Article 15 when I go back to work. Or they're not even gonna wait. They're gonna come read that shit to me in my room, you know. And no, I mean, I'm sitting there, dude, 3 fucking days straight, man. I'm going stir crazy like hell. I mean, you can only play so much Nintendo
Yeah.
in you in your barracks room. I'm sitting going, oh my God. I mean, I'm opening up my window just to let fresh air in. And, you know, I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? I'm doing my own PT in my room just to pass the time, you know?
Dude, I had my wisdom teeth, all four of my wisdom teeth removed in one day. I got a day off. And you get fucking 3 for fucking yourself up.
I mean,
That's borderline shooting yourself in the foot because you don't want to go overseas.
I was so dehydrated. Apparently, my squad leader later told me he said that I looked like ET when Elliot found him in the storm drain.
It's all fucking white,
Yeah, dude.
like a
I'm
week old dog
like,
turd.
yeah, like a week old sun dried dog turd, dude. You know what I mean? It was, you know,
God
so
damn it,
Oh
Johnny.
I mean, so the next time, next time there was a barracks party, it was upstairs, and some dude breaks out the Jose Cuervo, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm good." They were like, "You sure you don't want a shot, dude?" All I did was catch a whiff of it, and I'm like, "I'm gone. I'm good. I'm good.
Uh,
I'm done."
that's Bacardi 151 for me. Everybody has that one.
Yeah, everybody has that one alcohol that when you smell it, it reminds you the time you almost died. Yeah.
I have only one thing, and that's it's a shot called the monkey puke. It's Bacardi 101 with Wild Turkey 150.
I'm interested though. Why call it monkey puke? I
Think
mean, I
about
get
the
the puke
combination of what you fucking get when you drink that. You're basically combining two of the worst freaking things to drink, and then you're doing it in one shot.
Man, you remember when drinks at the bar used to have cool names like Snake Bite or the purple Hooter Shooter and you know the
Sex
buttery
with the
nipple and the
alligator, oral
slippery
sex with the
nipple and
alligator.
yeah. I remember one. Well, okay, so we had one guy. He
You
was
order that shit
ETSing.
now, you'll get canceled.
Yeah, he was ETSing, and we we're sitting there. Oh my God. So Mindy has got this her mobile notary TikTok page up, right?
Mhm.
She's got a pinned video that this morning it had just a little over 6,000 views. Right now it's sitting at 13.3.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, David. I had the same exact response. He
The
just
best
drops his pin and goes,
The best video I have on my TikTok that got any kind of motion really fast is when Tansy tasered that was talking about tasing that chick in the fucking vag.
Classic.
I mean,
Story. He's a good storyteller. I can't wait till his book comes out. Which he
I mean, to be
important-
fair, to be fair, I mean, she's helping other stay-at-home moms that, are, helping to contribute to the household's bottom line, but it doesn't hurt that, she's hot, and so yeah, there's that. I
My
mean,
other page is sitting at 12,000.
I mean
followers.
that's why I followed her on TikTok to begin with. So
I think you have some kind of secret agenda, and she reversed it on you, and you lost like a couple of days. So
He's just been drugged up the whole time.
I'm telling you,
no.
I think it's because he's been drugged up.
The truth comes out.
I took a nerve blocker this morning with some naproxen, and that was at like 8:30. So for the rest of the day, I've had my leg up doing that ice water
All
compress
I'm
thing.
saying is you've had a couple of more surgeries than most people in between the timeline of your marriage. I'm just saying. I mean,
I'm not saying there's a correlation. I'm just saying that
correlation.
are you under duress? Do you need help? That's basically what we're asking.
Hold on. What is it? Hold
You
on.
need an angel shot?
I knew it.
We need an angel shot.
All right.
Just as long as Jane Fonda doesn't come walking up and down the line, and I hand her the onion paper, and she turns it into my captors, and I get the fuck beat out of me that night.
Yeah. All right. Next thing, we'll combine this one, financial ruin of the United States. Another bank goes under and gets melded into JP Morgan, First Republic Bank, and also the Chinese yen is more valuable than the US dollar.
What are you
Now, I
talking about?
did
Biden
see that
literally
there's a
just said that-
Republican. There was 3 Republicans. Don't ask me to name them right now because I can't think of it off the top of my head. But there were 3 Republicans in the House that proposed a bill to return the US dollar to the gold standard.
Mhm.
So
never happened.
How would that- that would-
now, historically speaking, where we went wrong financially as a country, Nixon signed a bill that took the dollar off the gold and silver standard. That's where we went wrong. So I'm kind of like, why wouldn't we be on the gold standard? I mean, seriously, why would we not be on the gold standard?
If it had tied it into another actual, I mean, it was by default almost, it was tied to the oil, but there was nothing codified in law.
Yeah.
You would have at least tied it to something tangible, be it oil, be it anything. Then at least we would have had something to back up on. But you literally just tied it to the strength of the American economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the faith of people's, or it's the strength of the people's faith in the economy working, and nobody can even tell you how it works.
Yeah.
Just
Well, there's also what they're thinking about doing is making it more electronic.
yeah, with that
The whole digital currency thing.
Yeah.
Now, if we could do we can do an entire episode on the digital currency, the Fed now.
that's what is the Fed now.
Yeah.
Well,
So
the problem I have
because
with that-
my wife, she got sucked into that rabbit hole on TikTok, and for the longest time, that was all that was the only thing coming up on her For You page. Dude, she could sit there and talk about it until she was blue in the face.
Yeah, but it's all
And-
conspiracy theory. That is nothing. That,
Well,
Is it though? Is it conspiracy theory or is it conspiracy fact?
I know it's that. There we go. Okay, we got this.
okay.
I gotta get that Betty Bockler.
Listen, you can put the hat on all you want, but can we all agree that it is not a good thing to have every single transaction funneled through the US government and give them the power to weed out those transactions that they don't like?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna no. Hold on, John.
with the
Hold on,
whole
That is- I
green
know that's
initiative
not
thing.
that may not be the intent
No,
now,
no,
and
no,
that's
no,
what
no,
happened,
no.
but
I'm
it's
about
going
to.
go that way.
No, you're absolutely right, Chris. And what I'm about to say is, I think I sent this to you guys, Johnny. I don't even fucking worry about you even attempting to look at the videos I sent you. Chris, on the other hand, pays attention to me.
Dude, because I mean, like, I have got, I don't know how many, like, at least a couple of hundred videos over the course of a single week coming in for you. If I devoted enough time to sit down and watch the number of videos that you just decide to send my way, dude, that's all I would do.
You know what's funny though is half the videos that he sent me have already come up on my FYP and I've already seen them. So
Yeah, it's the same
that
thing.
mean,
cuts
yeah.
down on the amount of time.
I'm literally is like, oh, I already seen this, Chris. I already seen this, Chris. I've already seen this. Oh, this is one I haven't seen.
Same.
But anyways, there is one that
But if it makes you feel better, David, I'll start perusing and picking and choosing the ones that probably need to be watched.
Perusing. That's an Air Force word. Look at you.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm trying to not make him feel quite so alienated.
Why?
Okay.
That's what's fun about this.
Well,
there's-
I mean,
there-
it's bad enough. It's bad enough that David probably lies there on his couch at night with a list. Okay. I'm trying to keep him from, you know, he's one bad day away from full on Steve Buscemi from Billy Madison. You know,
Right.
Billy Madison, you know, dude, I'm trying to keep him from going there.
Which
saying that
I
you're
understand.
wrong.
However, it's the goal is not to not make the list. The goal is not to make the top of the list. As long as you're 3-4 names down, you have some warning beforehand, and then it just
I
becomes-
understand, but depending on what shade lipstick he wants to put on that day, he could go from the bottom up.
That's true. That's why I stay somewhere in the middle.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's definitely not wrong.
Strategy, man.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But anyways, there was a
I'll-
woman that actually she got a implant, one of those chip implants that all she has to do is like scan her hand.
Oh yeah, no, fuck that.
Okay, hear me out. She was all for it as soon as it was basically a study. She got the chip in her arm. I don't know if it was real or not, but it was a clearization of what would happen if you had some kind of this chip. She was able to get into her pay her bill at a concession stand. She was all kinds of stuff. It was like, oh, I can just wave my hand, I can get my apartment and everything. Well, that was the first video. The second video was when they shut it off, and she just lost it because she wasn't able to pay anything. She wasn't able to get it back in her apartment. She wasn't able to do anything. And that's the realization you have to have with the stuff that's going in right now that they're trying to put into effect.
Okay, so like with the key fobs on a Tesla, right? They're coded for that particular car, right?
Mhm.
Because technically you don't own Teslas, I don't think.
You do, but if they catch you using a charger or a supercharger of a brand other than a Tesla, they can revoke your supercharging privileges for X amount of time, right? There's guys that have done videos on it where they'll hook up to like a Falcon supercharger, and then they'll be going down the road and they'll get like 10-20 miles down the road, and then they'll get a message pop up on their display that says supercharging disabled for 24 hours or something like that. Anyways, so the key fobs are coded for those particular cars. So this guy takes one apart, and I forget all the particulars, but just to kind of put it in a nutshell here, he figured out how to wire the key fob into his arm.
Okay.
And all he did, he would go up to his car and just put his wrist up against the car and it would unlock, and then he'd just get in his car and start it.
Mm-mm.
And I'm sitting there going, why? You know, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, okay.
This is
Say you
so
get into a wreck, you know, you, now you got this hunk of metal or these wires in your arm for no reason. I'm sitting there, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's nuts. I mean,
you gotta
the idea, I mean, back in the early 2000s, like the close to like the early 2010s, I mean, you would hear stories about Bill Gates with his smart house when he was still living in Washington State, because you know he was still at the time kind of a hands-on with Microsoft kind of a guy, right?
Yeah.
He would invite people over to his house, and he would have their settings on a, you know, loaded into a computer, and they would
Of what
have to,
music they like, and
there was like their preferences for like air conditioning and stuff like that, climate control, lights
yeah.
would be programmed on these like RFID tags, and they would wear these badges around the house. And as soon as they walk in, when they come through the threshold of that door to the door to that particular room, the it would get red, and the settings would be changed in that room. And I'm sitting there going, oh, see, at the time I was like, man, that's pretty cool. But
Yeah.
you know, when we started, you know, approaching things like wiring things into people's brains, and then we started
It's
getting into the
becoming
whole
more
Big
of
brother
brace.
thing.
It's
You know, we started getting into the whole Big Brother thing, and it was like,
way too.
oh, no, that's not cool. I mean, at a certain, I think at a certain point over the course of human history, probably within the next, I don't know, 60, 70, maybe even 100 years from now, I mean,
I mean, it's gonna be cyberpunk.
yeah, I don't think it's going to be like Cyberpunk where people are like augmenting themselves.
Bullshit.
Well, yeah.
Eventually. I
Well,
don't know
see,
if
okay,
You say
in our
that. You
lifetime.
say that now.
here's what I see happening. Here's what I see happening. Okay, and this is just me. If we don't find ourselves in another world war,
That's another conversation.
Yeah.
right? If we don't find ourselves in another world war between now and the next 30, 40 years,
Ready for it.
you know, I mean, I'm being optimistic. I'm giving it the over. I think that borders are eventually going to break down. I'm not necessarily saying that things like sovereignty are going to go away, but you know, borders are going to basically kind
But
of.
that's where they want everything to go to.
Well, that's what they're wanting everything to go to, and I think that
But everybody,
I'm not discounting the idea. Okay, what I'm saying is that if you're going to execute some kind of like world government, okay, where we finally come together and we get past our own hangups and our own bullshit, I think at some point humankind will be able to come together under a single banner. Okay.
yeah,
You know,
I
and
agree with.
once we're able to pull our resources as a species, you know, then we're going to have, you know, then we're going to start seeing these jumps in technology, you know, and we're going to be more of a spacefaring people at that point. You know, I mean, at some point, you know, there's not going to be any other place for the human race to go but up and out. So,
Which notably, there's a lot of countries nowadays that are going towards space programs. Like India,
yeah,
India surprised me, honestly.
yeah, India, dude. I mean, and this is not in any way, shape, form, or fashion a racist comment, but with India having the reputation that it does, you know, being the outsourcing capital of the world, I I mean, India may be the world's source of technical engineers, in the future.
You're not,
I
you're
mean,
not entirely
I
wrong.
mean, they're gonna transform themselves from a from a country of hotel and gas station owners and call center managers to being able to diagnose problems mid-flight for translunar
Well, there's a lot of stuff
assets.
that's coming out of India. I mean, the new plastics they're coming out with.
Oh,
It's,
speaking of new stuff. Okay, so who remembers Star Trek for the Voyage Home?
Unfortunately.
It was the one with the whales. No, that was one of the better ones.
Come on.
Yeah. Oh, don't come on me.
Oh, come
okay,
on.
okay, before you
If
talk,
you're gonna come on anybody, come on Eileen. Anyways,
before you say anything, Johnny, they literally had this product, what you're about to mention, for about 6 to 7 years.
I understand that, but it's just now becoming public, right? And they're releasing some of the specs and the tolerances for it.
Yeah.
I think that it's still damn pretty cool that
It is.
nobody would have thought about trying to invent transparent aluminum if it had not been for that movie.
But there's just a lot of benefits to it. I once they come out with the specs and everything, I thought about this when I was younger, like in my high school years, because I was just,
It's like 10 times stronger than sapphire. It's
Yeah.
heat resistant. It stays translucent, and I mean you can produce it in a number of different thicknesses.
yeah.
But and it's form, even if like they form it into like domes or sheets or anything like that, whatever shape that they try to press it into, it still stays translucent, and I think that's cool as shit.
That is
You
Oh,
know, and when I saw that, and this is just because I'm a big nerd, it's like the only thing I could hear was that scene from Star Trek 4 when McCoy is talking to Scotty, and he's like, so much for changing the past, and he goes, well, how do you know he didn't invent the damn thing to begin with? Just like sitting there going, oh, okay. I mean then there was this scene where he goes, computer. He picks up the mouse to talk into it.
And now we're at the stage where we're actually doing that with our phones and everything. Blah blah blah. Now
That's why they say science fiction is a precursor to science fact.
yeah.
I mean, 90%, well, about 75% of the engineers that are currently working in the world they got into their fields because of Star Trek.
Hell, there's one lady that and I love the story. The actor that plays Scotty, I don't know his name, I just know him as Scotty.
James Doohan.
Okay, thank you, Johnny. Now he actually had a lady that was thinking about committing suicide, and we just had her go to the con and visit with him and everything every time.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up becoming a mechanical engineer, and it's all
she would. They stayed in contact. They wrote letters, and eventually it turned into emails. And anytime that he was going to be in the area where she lived, he always left a ticket for her, and she, would always come back. And I mean, she got her life turned around. She went to school.
Mhm.
She got a mechanical engineering degree. I mean, and that's one of the coolest like success stories.
Dude, I got goosebumps, and I'm about to tear up again. Every time I hear that story, that is just you tear up.
What the things I loved about James Doohan is the fact that he's a World War II vet, or was a World War II vet. He actually stormed the beaches of Normandy.
Yes.
And fun little fact, he was missing his ring finger from the knuckle up because it got shot off.
Mm.
And he always kept it hidden during the show.
Yeah, he was a badass.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But so I mean, yeah, I think at some point mankind's going to be able to transcend our pettiness. We're always going to have some kind of degree of racism and
Mostly about football teams or any kind of sports.
well,
Well, that's and
that's
this-
just okay. So to be serious, I mean that's just competitive loyalty. Okay, I'm talking about transcending things like looking past somebody's skin color or looking past somebody's ethnicity or religion. Do I think that religion's ever going to take a step back and it's not going to be as prevalent in society? To a degree, I think it will, but it's it's up to us as the believers to impart that belief onto the next generation, and so on and so forth. I think religion's always going to be a thing, especially with the human race. Now, when we start encountering other species, other races, I think that that racism and I'll call it humanism is always going to it's gonna come up and it's gonna flare, and there's gonna be backlashes and things like that, and that's just because to put it best, I mean, Tommy Lee Jones said it eloquently in the first Men in Black. Humans are dumb animals.
Well, that's the same thing going with like I mean there's many concepts of that, but there's like wizard first rule is another one that I keep on mentioning. Wizard first rule is people believe in a lie when they fear the truth, or they believe in a lie and they fear it might be true.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely. I mean,
we could have aliens come down and they literally are peaceful aliens, and they're trying to help us out with a lot of our stuff, but you're gonna have that one asshole that believes they're trying to kill us all, and it comes to the extent. And yes, I'm gonna mention this, and I'm one of those people that did not get vaccinated because I looked at the data, but I knew this stuff was wrong. Like with the vaccine, people went if you didn't get the vaccine, people were willing to end your fucking life to get rid of you.
yeah,
And it wasn't, it wasn't the virus. It was not the virus that was that was causing all this
hysteria.
It was news. It was the government itself.
yeah.
Propaganda.
I mean, somebody's always going to be behind the scenes trying to push an agenda.
Yeah,
And the agenda is nothing more than just a means of control. So they always say that the victors are the ones that write the history books. And so I mean, when we can start getting rid of things, Mike Wallace did an interview with Morgan Freeman on 60 Minutes one time, and you see this soundbite all the time.
Yes,
and he's like, so he asks him about Black History Month, and he goes, "What about it? I don't need a month. I know who I am. Why do we have to celebrate Black History Month? Why can't we just talk about history?"
Yeah, he was like, "How can you put our entire history into 1 month?"
Yeah, you know, and it's
which I love Morgan Freeman for that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
he said, "You want racism to go away? Stop talking about it."
Yeah, you want it to go away? Stop talking about it. And I mean, you're going to have your ignorant ass people, and they're eventually going to breed themselves out of existence, or they're going to open their eyes just out of sheer attrition.
I think idiocracy is more
idiocracy.
Yeah, I think that's more preference.
Yeah, stupid people are the ones that are breeding, and the smart people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna wait," and then they eventually die off.
Yeah,
sadly, that's
so I think it's funny that Terry Crews is doing it just as kind of like a joke, but he announced his candidacy for the office as President Camacho.
Yeah. At South by Southwest, which was amazing.
I'm sitting there going, "Huh, okay, all right."
Listen, it's not the worst idea.
It's really not.
once
know,
people start
here's the thing.
going, it's like
Okay, I truly believe that, you know, and I hate bringing it up, but like, okay, so the transgender people, okay, the transgender crowd.
yeah,
I almost want to stop just short of acknowledging it as a mental disorder, just simply due to the fact that the same people that were bitching and moaning at us during the 80s and 90s about following the science when it came to the ozone layer are now the same people that are bitching and moaning at us about not following the science when we think that there's only two genders and that men cannot have periods.
yeah.
Okay, it's about it's dysphoria. It's, I mean, there's something to be said for an agenda that is trying to normalize pedophilia,
That too. Oh, which we'll get into that one too.
you know? So things like that are, I view them as more of a cancer than anything else. There is absolutely nothing morally right, remotely pure. Well, I'll let me retract that part of it. There's nothing closely even morally right or mentally right about the mindset of somebody who looks at a child and gets turned on. Period. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because we're tasked with protecting the least of these,
Mhm.
right? And that includes the children.
Which
Yeah.
Florida just opened up a can of worms too, because they just signed a bill that if the child is 12 or younger, guess what
Mhm.
happens? Death penalty.
Yep.
Good.
Nothing.
Well, I think it used to be a thing in Alabama, where if you were charged
I'll
with,
check it. I'll check that up.
Not charged, convicted.
okay, if you were convicted, I think it used to be in Alabama, if you were convicted of child rape, that I believe it used to be that if you were convicted of it, that they chemically castrated you.
I know it was a thing.
Actually, there's a lot of states that actually ended up doing that.
that
But
was back in the day that was fairly common.
yeah, now, am I all for dragging people like that out into the street and putting one in their forehead? No. Why? Because we need to figure out not necessarily a less lethal means, but we need to figure out a more civilized way of getting there, because it's the actions that we take against that. I mean, the end goal can be the same, but it's the actions that we take to get to that end goal that I think hurt us more in the long run.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Because now you've got things, now you got people like that are transgender, they're walking around with this state of confusion and fog because they buy into the to the to the dribble and the propaganda that's being put out there. I mean, they're walking around committing mass assaults. I mean, there was video footage like 2 or 3 weeks ago. A transgender woman, i.e., a man who's dressing like a woman now, was walking around and went into a gas station with an axe,
Oh fuck.
and just started staring people down, and was talking to this like big beefy dude in the line behind him, and threatened him. So what's he going to do? He's going to push off and create some of that standoff distance, right?
Yeah.
This transgender person hauled off and hit this dude a couple of times with the axe, and then hit somebody on the way out the door and just walked away like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Well, there's also
And to my knowledge, they never caught that person.
no. One thing, Johnny, it's actually Alabama and Louisiana just did it just recently. They actually convicted a guy and they chemically castrated him. But also, what and I think this stuff should be implemented in most states, and people are getting upset. But there's another thing that happened in Florida too, and Florida's doing all the what I believe is the right stuff, and Texas is doing it too to an extent. But I mean, they literally signed in a bill. It's like, hey, you cannot have children at the Pride Parade because of XYZ. You know what happened? It wasn't the state that did this, but the people that actually made up the Pride Parade canceled the parade. It's kind of weird that now we can't have children here seeing us. That we
You know
can't.
why that is? You want to know why that is? It's because they knew that they weren't going to get anywhere with the adult crowd. So they do what the radical left did in the 70s and 60s, and they started targeting children. It's called indoctrination.
Yeah.
And you see court cases popping up all the time, custody cases. There was one case where a man was trying to sue for custody of his son because his ex-wife.
Oh, that happened recently. They went
Right,
to,
where the ex-wife was like, "Oh, well."
he goes to California, and he won the case finally.
Yeah, he finally won the case,
Yeah,
but
wasn't he like
the ex-wife took off with their son and was like, "Well, I think that he thinks that he's a girl," and so she kidnapped the kid, moved out of state, and then started having gender reassignment hormone blockers administered to the kid. I mean, this kid's like what, 6 or 7?
Yeah, he was very
Fucking
young.
hell.
You know,
She went to it was California or Oregon.
It's
that she
California.
went to.
yeah,
It's
and so
because
so
actually,
thank God that the man finally won that case and got custody of his son back. And hopefully that, with some proper medical treatment can reverse the damage that his mother did.
yeah, there's
And
a lot of stuff that's going on that, and it's mostly from the data that I have been looking at. It's mostly single mothers that are doing this to their child. There are some men, very few of the men are doing this, but it's mostly women that are doing this. And
well, look at the type of look at the
it's a
type of
sign-
men that are doing this. They're usually your very stereotypical basic soy boys.
yes, but the reason why they are doing this is because they crave the attention that they have this, and that's the reason why they want it's that whole fucking, hey, I'm taking care of my kid and everything like that, and I'm posting it all on Facebook, but the mother's a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing. Okay. And I I know that the two of you are going to agree with me. You get a lot of child support. Child support needs to be, only ordered through the courts when the parent that is being ordered to pay it is a deadbeat.
Right.
All right. Child support should not be a penalty for a broken relationship. Okay.
Right.
Now,
100%.
if you go and to be completely and perfectly honest with you, I think that barring some, specific circumstances, I think that 50-50 custody should be should be the standard. Costs are split right down the middle, and that the kids spend equal time at the two parents' homes. And at a certain point, if the child chooses to live with one parent over the other after maybe age 14, well, starting at age 14, I think that they should be able to choose. And you hear things like Division 4. Okay. Division 4 is the entity, at least in the state of Texas, that's responsible for collecting child support. Do you want to know what a portion of your child support payments go to in the state of Texas?
Mm-mm.
The judge's retirement fund.
Oh, wow. The state shouldn't get a fucking penny.
Well, and so like with back child support, it accrues interest.
Yeah.
And so it's, I mean, I'm not advocating for, hey, we're divorced, I shouldn't have to pay for anything. No, you have a child in this world, you need to help take care of that child. You
Right.
need to be present for that child.
100%.
At least be engaged. If you can't be present physically, you can be present by being engaged. Phone calls, FaceTime, things like that.
Right.
But I think, what was it? I read somewhere that in like 2019, Division 4, just in back child support, interest charges, just for every dollar that you send in, I think like 20 cents of that, or 2 cents of every dollar, goes towards the Division 4 judicial retirement fund, right?
Which is
Or
ridiculous.
pension. That's what I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
I think in 2019, I read somewhere, I haven't seen any of the newest figures yet, but I think in 2019, Division 4 in the state of Texas alone generated $2.1 billion.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yep. And
So
who is it that's paying into this?
mostly fathers, mostly dads.
Almost exclusively men.
Yeah, almost exclusively men. And you start to see like the fathers' rights movements and stuff like that. And you see court cases that are setting precedents in places like Ohio. And I love Texas, love it to death. But this is one of the last bastions for you're a dad, you're divorced, you're an automatic shitbag. And and this is not me going on a He-Man woman haters club rant. Okay, that's not what this is, because there's bad moms just like there's bad dads out there.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm not saying that I was the best father at all for any of my kids, and I've had to learn a lot of lessons. But if there's one thing that nobody can ever say about me, is that I am not engaged with my kids, and that I do not love my kids, or that I am not willing to go to bat for my kids, period. Right. Okay. It's and we can get into the weeds about it, and we can talk about things like female narcissism versus male narcissism. I mean, there's gaslighting on both ends, on both sides of every story.
Yeah.
I mean, there's what, three versions of the story. There's a lie, the truth, or there's her side, his side, and then there's the truth, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So with that being said, I'm just kind of like, they always talk about the equality gap, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they don't look at the disparagements, or the discrepancy, or the gap between how a man is treated versus how a woman is treated in family court. It's the fact that they don't want to, because why? It doesn't fit their narrative.
Right.
Okay. And again, 100%, I firmly believe that child support should be for deadbeat parents, not something that you have to pay into because the relationship failed.
You can opt out of the child support if you do it right.
Okay,
Once
so
it,
to
but
opt
once it
out
start,
for a
once it
man to
starts,
opt out, for a
Yeah,
man to
why would
opt
you
out of child
want-
support, you have to give up your parental rights.
Right.
You have to give up your claim to that child. Okay. In all transparency, okay, and I'm going to be very vague here because of the parties involved, but I surrendered my parental rights for one of my kids. Okay. Because at the time, the circumstances being what they were, and the relationship that I had with that particular child's mother, I felt that it was probably the best thing because one, we're going to remove a level of toxicity there. And two, they would have been able to, establish themselves in somewhat of a normal life. Now I have been blessed enough to have reestablished a relationship and have been in a very strong relationship with that child since. And I have a somewhat decent friendly rapport with that particular mother, but it's to this day will always be one of the biggest regrets that I've ever had in my entire life.
yeah.
Right.
So with that having been said, it's opting out of child support. I know that there's probably a legal way to do it, but something is just kind of nagging at me about that whole concept. I mean, it's almost like, okay, I'm going to jump through all these hoops so that way I don't have to support this child, at least as far as the courts are going to be concerned. Now, if you're going to reverse child support decisions, I mean, there's obviously going to have to be some custody, figured out within the court. Now, the one thing that I am going to suggest that is that if anybody listening is thinking about, either divorce or modifying custody plans or parenting plans, have your ducks in a row and be prepared, because it doesn't matter if the person that you're going to take to court says that they're going to be amicable about things and that they're going to just, that they're willing to capitulate certain things in order to ultimately make a better environment for the children. Be prepared for them to lie to you to your face and go dragging and screaming and making it all about them in a court of law. Okay. I say that because I speak from experience. Okay. Something that should have maybe cost a couple of $100 for a filing fee with a couple of signatures attached to it ended up turning out to be roughly in the neighborhood of about $750 to $1,800 because, or $1,500 rather, because the other party very did a very poor job in acting class that day, made it about them and their needs as opposed to what's best for the kids. So, we did eventually come to a rough agreement before the proceedings started. But once we got in the courtroom and I was put on the stand, don't think for a second that I didn't get, or that their attorney didn't make the attempt to rake me across the coals. Now, I say made the attempt. They didn't succeed very well. And for 90% of what we went in there for, we got. But, it's a tough road to hoe, man. I mean, it really is. And it's not one that you need to take lightly. It's not one that needs to be taken alone. But at the end of the day, I mean, we have to understand and we have to be made to remember that it's not about us. It's not about us as a human being. It's not about us as an individual. It's about the kids and what's best for them, because they're the innocent ones. They didn't ask for their mom and dad to split up. They didn't ask for mom and dad to publicly drag all this dirty laundry, whether it's real or fictitious, out to the public air. They didn't ask for mom to drag dad through the dirt. They didn't ask for dad to drag mom through the dirt. So, the one thing that David knows what I went through with my last divorce. Chris, I'm sure I probably let you in on a lot of
We
it.
had that conversation, yeah.
So you can do everything that you can do to try to keep your nose clean. If the other side has a good enough lawyer, you're going to get dirty, regardless of your efforts. You're going to spend some time reevaluating the value of your own life, kind of a deal. You're going to go through some heartaches. You're going to go through a lot of trial and tribulations, but I'm telling you, you have to keep your eyes on the ultimate prize. And that is just understanding that you have to be the best version of yourself for your kids, because they deserve the best. Because again, they didn't ask to be brought into this world. They didn't ask for the circumstances that they're being placed into to be put upon them. But, it's, the family courts are not there for the men. They're really not. And a lot of people will tell you that, including lawyers. And, and something else too, this whole client attorney privilege thing is a load of shit. They will talk about each other's clients because they all have lunch together.
Yep.
They'll talk about their cases openly.
Yep.
Like in Wichita Falls, every lawyer knows each other. Absolutely 100%.
Yep,
Something that you say in the strictest of confidence within the walls of that attorney's office will get repeated at the lunch table. Oh yeah, it's not right. It sucks, but hey, that's what you get whenever you're in a county small enough to have a good old boys and girls club.
Yep.
So, but the family courts, the whole child support thing, I mean, it could be handled a lot better, but the way that it's configured now, and it has been for 50, 60 years, it is an absolute money-making racket. I mean, it's all it is just a racketeering scheme concocted by state governments. And, so it's stupid. It really is. So I'm trying to think of a way to circle back to our other topics, and I'm failing. So somebody rescue me.
Okay, there's another thing that's happening right now, and then this is kind of it's just kind of funny. Disney World to move to New Orleans because of the fight that they're having in Florida with Governor DeSantis, which it's all fake. I figured as much, because if you look at how much land they have in Florida and how much they use for Disney World,
It would cost Disney World more than they in order to pay for a move from Florida to Louisiana, which by the way I would not suggest. They would have to sell off one of their big marquee items like the Star Wars properties, or they would have to sell off Marvel Studios to be able to afford to pay for that move.
Not even that. They could now if they build a new place, which I'm reading all the stuff that was on it, and it doesn't look like they're putting anything in New Orleans at this time.
Of course they're not.
But well,
think about all the people that Disney would have to displace. Where are they going to put themselves? Are they going to bulldoze the Ninth Ward? I mean,
you guarantee it would be they would market that as an attack on DeSantis hates poor people. That's why he's making Disney move to these to this neighborhood, and they're having to do that. If it weren't
okay, so the whole thing stems from the fact that Disney for years has had some kind of like self-governance agreement with the state of Florida.
Yeah.
And because they're pushing this whole woke LGBTQ trans agenda,
which is actually doing them a lot of harm, and most of
it really is.
Yes.
I mean, they're shooting themselves in the foot, and they don't even realize it because they're just
they're realizing
they're that invested.
They're realizing it, and Bob Iger, the new CEO, is actually trying to change all of that. It's like, listen, we have to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, Well, they saw what
And-
happened with Anheuser Busch, mentioning them earlier in the podcast. They saw what happened with that, so they're going to have to start backtracking it.
Yeah, I mean, when you get to the point where the agenda that you're trying to push is not only rejected by a majority of Americans, but it's rejected by a lot of countries around the world.
Yeah,
But
they're extremely.
you're catering to the vocal and violent minority.
What's really funny is I watched this article. I watched this news clip of I don't know where it was from. Is they were giving out the president of this African nation was giving the difference between like Russia and China and America. And they're like, what fucking sucks is America gave us $2 million for gender studies. Russia, China, they gave us weapons.
This was like Senegal.
Yeah.
Who do you think we're gonna go with? Yeah, exactly.
He's like, how are we? Yeah, how are we going to defend ourselves with $2 million for gender studies?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
queer theory into our schools or something like that. Like it just
Yeah. It's that whole, it was
what
like
I love is the
want
fact that we've
everybody-
got teachers getting busted now because kids are bringing their cell phones into the classrooms and recording their teachers talking about pedophilia, talking about critical race theory, and a lot of these very left-leaning teachers that think their jobs are safe because they're tenured are getting turned out on their butts because they're putting kids in danger.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and here's the funny thing, and this is going to blow somebody's mind. It really is. Okay, so we talk about the silent majority and the vocal minority, right? You know, everybody talks about the people who yell the loudest are usually the ones that win the argument. And
Actually, I have.
let me finish.
Go ahead.
Can I
BCX.
please? Thank you. Okay.
Go ahead.
Back in the 30s, how do you think the National Socialist Party in Germany got started? They were a very vocal minority. They eventually shouted down enough people to where they gained power, and you saw how that turned out. So we might want to think twice before doing what Prime Minister Chamberlain did back in the 30s, where he appeased to Adolf Hitler and conceded Poland in the hopes of maintaining peace on the European continent.
We just give them.
If you give somebody who is trying to push an agenda an inch, I guarantee you they will not just take a mile. They will take square mileage, and it eventually turns into, you know, hundreds of thousands of miles, and it eventually gets to the point where it's never going to be enough, and it's going to be their way or you're just going to get executed at some point.
Yeah. Well, here, okay. There's two things in this. One is the first things. BC actually sent me this. He's finishing up on his book, and he's getting a couple of offers, which I'll love to have him on to promote his book. But he sent me this part of his philosophy in the writing. The fight will come no matter how hard you try to avoid them. They are still going to happen. So I can tell you this: if possible, I'll always warned first. When you beat a man, everyone knows it. No need to hike up your britches and brag about it. So, boy, what have you got to decide in your life? If you're going to be the dog that barks then bites, or the dog that bites then barks. That was your first instance on this. But what a lot of people don't understand is what is happening is what it all started out with. It started out was like, okay, we'll give you this little nugget. You're good with this, right? No, you're not. You need to, and then it gets to the point to where now, and luckily there's certain platforms where you can speak what the fuck is going on with this world and not get to the point to where you no one knows you exist anymore, which I've been a loser most of my life. I'm surprised I've gotten this far and people actually still listen to me. I am literally surprised every day. Like, I have great friends. I'm surprised. I'm like, where the fuck were you guys when I was younger, when I was getting beat up? But now I'm like, nowadays, I'm just surprised of how much, good friends I have compared to like most people. I mean, yeah, we still every once in a while we need to vent to each other. It happens. I mean, I do it, Johnny does it, Chris does it too, and my brother-in-law does it. But we all come together as a group of people, complain what's going on, and then we just look at it and going, okay, we'll see what we can fix together. But we don't go out and say, hey, this is the world, I see it, let's fucking
Yeah, we're not part of the pitchfork and torches crowd. I mean, we get yelled at and screamed down and yelled down and labeled as fascist because we don't think the way that they do. But kind of like Engaño Montoya from The Princess Bride. You keep saying that word, but I don't think you know what it means. It's fascism is really, it's almost like the new race card.
Well, it is the new race card, and they're using it.
And what's
because
funny is the
we
fact
used
that
to well.
Antifa labels themselves, and that, Antifa is still a thing, but Antifa labels themselves as being anti-fascist.
It's literally
They're the ones dressing like stormtroopers, not talking the cool ones that can't hit anything. We're talking about, covering their faces, wearing black clothing, trying to get all tactical, but they usually take it off because they can't bear the weight and they sweat too much because they don't
That
drink
happened.
water. They're
that
drinking
happens
water.
with tactics too. They scream down those that they don't.
They do.
agree
They
with.
scream down, and that is the action. That is the point. That is the purest definition of fascism: is that you scream down somebody else's opinion.
Mhm.
Before I had to take off for work for the surgery, I was told that there was people in management that were accusing me of doing something that I hadn't done. And when I heard about it, I was like, huh, okay. At that point, for whatever reason, the stars and the planets aligned just perfectly. And instead of calmly, coolly, and collectively going to the person in charge and stating my case, I kind of took it out on the lowest rung of the management ladder. Not no, I was still professional. I still carried some tact, that old military bearing thing. And I made myself abundantly clear. I said that I've got an open door policy. I said if anybody has something that they want to say about me, to me, concerning me, they need to come to me. I said, because one, we're all adults here. Two, that's lowbrow bush league crap. And three, if we are expected to, as hourly employees, to come in, check in, or clock in and act professionally until we leave, then the same standard, if not more, needs to be expected of those who are placed in positions of authority. I said, because you're the ones that are out here setting the example for us. So instead of backbiting, backstabbing, and talking about people in hushed circles, how about you pull that person that you're talking about into a room somewhere? Because what's that good old leadership ethos? You admonish in private and you praise in public, right? So you pull that person into a closed office and you have a discussion with them. It's called entering into a civil discourse. I'm all about trying to, discuss things with people, even have it escalate into a debate. But it's when it starts turning into an argument, that's when I start shutting down, because I know at that point they know that they've lost and that they are choosing to wake up and they're waking up and choosing violence at that point, and I'm not willing to be a party to that. Now, when I say that they wake up and choose violence, I'm talking about verbal violence. And at some point, there are some people in this world who just were not raised right and lack the cognitive capacity that God gave wet concrete. At least it's smart enough to dry, right? They'll sit there and they'll get mouthy. And at some point, they'll try to impose a physical presence in hopes that they'll intimidate you into submission. Then I stand up. I assume that good posture. And I talk to them with that command presence voice, that one that comes down here from the diaphragm.
Right.
And that's when this starts coming out.
Yep.
And so after I had stepped down off my little soapbox that evening, I tracked that individual down and I said, look, I want to apologize for coming across as being unprofessional. I could have handled that a little bit better. And they were like, no, like, dude, that was actually kind of awesome, And I was like, yeah, be that as it may, still, I'm owning up to the fact that I could have handled that better. Well,
Yeah, we both worked
people
at
that were within the vicinity went to management. Management came and talked to me the night before I went out for my knee, and was like, what happened here? So I explained the situation. And then we're like, do you think that maybe you could have handled that better? I said, well, if you'd have been listening actively, I told you not even 5 minutes ago that I had tracked them down and made an apology to that individual, so
Right.
we should have been good at that point. Well, by me bringing up the fact that they weren't actively listening, they took that as they took that as a serious indictment upon themselves. And people hate being indicted for anything. They hate having their feet. They hate having their feet held to the fire.
Right.
They kind of sat there and go, well, you're just unprofessional, and I'm going to talk to who I need to talk to, see about writing you up. And I was like, writing me up for what? I mean, I'm legitimately asking this question because it's not a question of understanding or comprehension. It's just the fact that because you got called out on something in a very professional, unimposing manner, you're wanting to what? Levy some kind of punishment because somebody noticed something that either A, you're aware of, B, not aware of, or C, are aware of and just don't care enough to fix. Right? They looked at me and I was like, I leaned in and I was like, look, I legitimately did this. I said, look, they're looking at the barrel of a knife hand. I said, I come into work, I do my job, I get done, I clock out and I go home. I could care less about the people that work here when I'm not here. When I am here, I'm cordial, I'm polite, but I get my job done. You don't see me out there, wasting time, leaning up against a wall, or trying to help gravity out by holding the foundation down. I'm doing something.
Right.
I said, there's no reason for me to walk into the garden section and apologize to every plant that has been working hard to produce the oxygen that everybody else in this store wastes. And they looked at me and they were like, well, you have a point. And then they turned around and walked away. They didn't say a thing to me for the rest of the night. And I'm just sitting there going, huh, okay. So, I mean, there are certain ways. I mean, you can talk down to somebody without them knowing that you're talking down to them. I mean, anybody who's either ever been experienced to or been exposed to an NCO or has had leadership experience knows what the hell I'm talking about.
Well, was it Churchill that said diplomacy is the art of telling somebody to go to hell in such a way that they look forward to the trip?
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly
my thing is all you have to do is say, well, sir, and some fucked up shit is coming because they fucked up.
I love the phrase "with all due respect."
Well, you got to put "sir" in that.
Yeah.
With all due,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, with all due respect, sir. Or it's like, or with all due respect,
I
Soren,
swear to God, I'm sorry I didn't get you your juice box
you know, it's
and
like,
and your treats.
I mean, I can go into the I can go into the orderly room and get you some of those orange slices if you want.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, good Lord, you know, it amazes me that, you know, we have these people that are out roaming the streets and you know, eating up our food supply and soaking up oxygen that could be used for, you know, other things. And they put on like, you know, they put on a really bad alpha impression, but the second that they get called out on it, oh Lord, oh no, 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 no. You might
They
as well
took
just
their tails
you
real
just
quick.
hang it up because, dude, either they're gonna cry, they're gonna scream, you're gonna hear somebody's voice crack, and then they're gonna go online and they're gonna lambaste you. They're gonna make your life a living hell. Okay. Case in point, our sponsor, my wife, was on her private TikTok page, and she had made a comment about a picture from a gay wedding. She was like, marriage should be between a man and a woman. She was exercising her First Amendment rights, expressing her opinion, and standing up for her belief.
Mhm.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. She's doing the same thing that the LGBTQ crowd does whenever they want to expose themselves to children and then they play it off like it's a good thing, right? So let me look at that. Hold on. So she starts getting messages, right? And then they track down her professional page. She's got her phone number on her professional page. That's how people reach her, right? Calling her several times, even went as far as to send her an email, calling her things like twat waffle. Somebody even, now they got the address wrong, but they got it to within a few houses on the same street, talking about, well, I'll meet you at such and such address with the gun emoji in there in the message, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, she went,
Read
I
up on
mean,
the
like
castle
her
documents.
anxiety
Too far with that.
through the roof. I'm over there thinking, okay,
You might get your stateside kill.
right, I might get my front yard pop, right? And you know, I'm like, I legitimately in my head, I'm going through how much ammo I've got.
Yep.
Right. I'm thinking about, okay, if they show up at the house after my surgery, I'm going to have to low crawl my ass or high crawl my ass to the edge of the stairs. So that way I got good cover, good concealment, but I can still get a good sight picture toward the front door.
Can't
You
you
know,
use
things
that
like
new
that.
chair?
Huh?
Can't you use that new chair?
Well, I mean, I've got a
Stay
clean line of
comfortable.
sight. I've got a clean line of sight to the front door. So I mean that part I've got covered, right? And you know, I can blind fire and hit the back door kind of a thing, you know, kind of a thing. But
At least make them think twice.
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I swear I'm still gonna get a bike horn installed on one of the rails of my AR so that way the last thing somebody hears before they get smoked is you know, they get to the
Clown
pearly
around,
gates
we'll
and St.
clown.
Peter's like, what was the last thing you heard before you died? Bike horn? You're going to
Did I
hell.
get run over by a clown car? What happened?
You're right. I don't remember clown cars having a grain count, but you know, but I mean,
clown car had a
she spent a good 3 or 4 days, well, actually, most of the week, blocking people on her social media platform, like all of them, Instagram, TikTok, both of her TikTok accounts,
Mhm.
both of her Facebook pages. I mean, people were just ugly about it. And I don't know if they were using a VPN number or whatever, but like I got a call, she got a call from a Los Angeles number talking about, you know, I know where you live, you know, you're a bigot, you're a twat waffle this, you know, fuck you that. I mean, it was
Not for nothing. I'm kind of wanting to use the twat waffle a little bit more often now.
The twat waffle is just
It's one of those things I haven't heard of.
yes, that is a word that I haven't heard in a very, very long time. But no, I'm more inclined towards things like fuck face and fuck plug. It's got that abrasiveness and just that abruptness that just demands, hey, you're looking at me.
I still like shit pump.
Shit pump is good, but
Well,
shit
you wanna get
pump,
her on
I
the
mean,
podcast.
shit pump, shit bird, shit hawk. I mean, this isn't Trailer Park Boys. I'm just kind of putting that out there. Mr.
Well,
Leahy.
I'm trying to get the chick to come on the podcast because she
I
has
mean, the next time you say the word shit pump, I'm going to ask you where Randy is.
no.
I
Actually,
mean,
what's really
shut
what
the
did
fuck
that
up,
come-
Randy, you greasy fuck. Go eat another cheeseburger.
Did that come from Trailer Parks Boys?
Go put a fucking shirt on, Randy. God.
Did
Huh?
that come from Trailer Park Boys?
Yes, it did. And the
Because
guy that played
that guy-
Mr. Leahy is actually dead. He died a couple years ago.
Did he?
Yep.
That sucks.
I
I'm
stopped watching Trailer Park Boys the last season. They all got arrested and then they're in the jail cell and they all turn into cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what? What is this? And then the next season that came out was all animated. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it was a little out there.
Well,
I mean, I get that
It's
Letterkenny
all-
did I get that Letterkenny did like a, you know, a little Kenny kind of a thing.
Yeah,
where
but
they
it
were all
was-
kids. But that was
separate.
like that was just them being kids, and it was all Wayne and Daryl. You know, they were all just talking. You know, you're sitting around having a discussion with your pals the other day. You know, and it's like, okay, fine, but they didn't make it a season that was integral to or in, you know, integral to the canon. I mean, it wasn't a continuation of the visit to the jail cell. I mean, like literally the first episode of that season of Trailer Park Boys. Okay. Oh, what is his name? The dumb one.
Bubbles.
Not Bubbles. Bubbles is awesome. Shit. He's always getting hurt. He's got the car with the no doors on it.
I'm blanking.
David's looking it up. I know he is.
No, I'm not. I was
Really? Okay. Anyways, he walks out and he's like, I wonder if we're like cartoons in real life where they don't get hurt, right? And so he finds a gun in his car and shoots himself. He's like, oh, that hurts so bad. Hey, I'm not bleeding anymore. It's like, I'm like, oh my God, dude, I tried so hard to finish that season and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Couldn't do it, man.
That's a little too far out there.
Randy, that's his name. No, not Randy's the fat one. Fuck, what's his name? Hold on. Damn it.
well. While you're doing that, did Chris? Did we mention the TikTok warehouse?
The what?
TikTok warehouse.
TikTok warehouse.
Okay, you know how World of Warcraft used to have like the Chinese gold farmers?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they had the same thing with TikTok now. They have like young Asian girls.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It-
They're creating content. Just they're locked in like a fucking cubicle, just creating content and like filters and stupid shit like that. Just whatever's trending. Ricky,
Oh,
there
yeah,
you go.
Ricky.
Ricky.
Yeah. He's the one with the drink in his hand all the time.
No, that's Julian.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. Did you know Brian Austin Green from 90210 had a spot on that show? Yeah. I thought I recognized. I was like, no.
No,
I was just too lazy to look it up.
I never spent a lot of time watching the 90210.
Yeah. Yeah. John Dunsworth, who played Jim Leahy, he died a few years ago.
I
He was
never.
actually a really, really great actor. He was a classically trained actor.
Yeah, a lot of them are. I mean, look at
And he
Brian.
caught so much hell. Like he went on these upper scale like Shakespeare theater interviews, right? And the person giving the interview was like talking shit to him to his face. He's like, aren't you ever afraid that you're going to be looked down upon, or that your stature as an actual actor is going to be diminished because of this role that you constantly reprise on this Trailer Park Boys show? And he goes, no, I don't. I'm not worried about it at all. I'm like,
Look at Brian
"There you go."
Cranston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did
Well,
Malcolm.
you look at
I mean,
the dude that played the sheriff in the Dukes of Hazzard. He was a classically trained Shakespearean actor.
yeah.
And he did a good
Yeah.
role.
Oh, did you know the guy that played Boss Hogg? He was actually in the army. He was a Korea vet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or look at the guy that plays Data.
Brent Spiner. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Just the
his
episodes that
time-
he was in for this past season, where he's switching back and forth from like Lord, Data, and Dr. Soon. Dude.
Yeah.
I'm not spoiling anything for you.
But you just I'm working on getting through it. David,
All I'm saying, master class in character transition.
Well, remember what his notable role was?
inaugural.
His notable role.
Notable role. Night Court.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He played the redneck, the hillbilly.
Yeah. We'll go.
He was a recurring character in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Just
he-
like, okay, so the guy that
he-
played Dan Fielding's assistant, he was always wearing like the real shitty clothes, and he was always eating out of the trash can.
Yeah.
He had a recurring role on Days of Our Lives. He played Stephen Demera's or Stefano Demera's like evil mad scientist guy.
Really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't Jensen Ackles get a start in one of those soap operas? I don't know
I
if
think he
Days
did.
of Our
I
Lives.
know he had a bit part in, or he had a small part in one of
It was Days
Was
of
it?
Our Lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just like, so we, all right. So my wife and my sister-in-law have got me hooked on the early seasons of Grey's Anatomy, right?
So it begins that
I am so pissed at them about this.
Okay,
right?
okay. This is what's gonna happen. You remember what was his name? Bruce something Jenner.
I seem to recall
Jen.
in his early years,
I mean,
didn't something happen to him fairly recently, like in recent
I-
history?
I'm
I
not
thought something.
sure.
I haven't heard the name Bruce in quite a while. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
me neither.
The only time I ever think of the name Bruce is when I'm thinking about Bruce Campbell.
I think of the shark from Finding Nemo.
No, I think of Bruce Campbell.
Oh, he's like,
He's Bruce.
Bruce
Bruce.
Wayne.
oh,
Is
that's
Bruce.
nice. I'm having fish for dinner tonight, boys.
You have to excuse him. He didn't even know his father.
Like,
But anyways, we've been going at this for an hour and 30 minutes.
all right, just real quick.
Go.
All right, so, and I get onto them all the time. Like something happens on the show, and I'm sitting there going, I hate y'all. I really do, for making me get hooked on this show. I'm just like, what the fuck, you know? And so, like the other night, one of the characters just kind of didn't reply to a question. They just kind of stared off into space. And Mindy was like, "Oh, that's the soap opera stare." I was like, "No, that is the John Black from Days of Our Lives stare, where he does that one look for an entire season, where he just kind of looks at you and goes,
Oh, is that the Joey Tribbiani where he's trying to divide? What was it? He's trying to figure out the square root of something in his head, and that's
Yes.
that look because
Yes,
he's trying to figure
yes,
yeah, he's trying
yes,
to
the
do
same Joey Tribbiani that had a recurring role as Dr. Remora on Days of Our Lives.
What was his first name? Doctor
Dr. I think David Remora or something like that.
It was Rick or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. But he had he fell down an elevator shaft and died. But then he had a twin brother that came back. I was like, that is awesome.
Oh God, that's gonna bug me. What's his name? I need
I
to
mean,
put
if it wasn't for the fact that like everybody that's on Days of Our Lives now, with the exception of maybe Deidre Hall, are brand new characters, and the storylines are just so, even for Days of Our Lives standards, I might actually sit down and watch an episode or two just because it was an enjoyable show to watch back in the early 2000s, right? You know, you had Stefano and you had, you know, you knew who was the bad guy, and then Deidre Hall's character was constantly getting kidnapped or possessed by Stefano.
Drake, Dr. Drake Ramore.
Drake Ramore, there you go. That's what it is. Yes. Yeah, and what his brother's name, his twin brother's name was something else.
I don't know. I've never seen a
I
penis.
know. I bet you if I go in there and I ask my wife and my sister-in-law, they'll tell me right on the spot.
Yeah, they probably could.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go eat, and then I'm gonna see if I can find the Covenant on pay-per-view and watch that. So
Okay. So, anyways, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. I'm David Dickerman.
I'm Johnny Skelton.
I am Chris Jacko.
And thank you all. Talk to y'all later. Love you. Bye.
What the hell?